Welcome to the Conflict Zone, a channel dedicated to informing about major conflict points around the world.
In this video, we will discussing why China views control over the South China Sea as a crucial objective.
Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell to stay updated with all our latest news.
History has witnessed the rise and fall of countless great empires. Even those that seemed unbeatable and everlasting eventually decline, whether through gradual weakening or devastating wars. The Roman Empire, which at its height stretched over nearly 5 million square kilometers, did not collapse overnight. Its fall was the result of a long, slow process of decline, lasting almost 2 centuries, with various stages, including its division into 2 parts. In contrast, the British Empire, the largest in human history, covering 35.5 million square kilometers, or about 25% of the Earth's land, fell much more rapidly, largely due to the aftermath of World War II. In 1945, over 750 million people, about 30% of the world's population, lived under the British flag. Yet just 20 years later, by 1965, that number had shrunk to 60 million, with 55 million residing in the British Isles. These examples clearly illustrate that all empires, no matter how large or powerful, experience a cycle of rise, growth, decline, and eventual fall. This process can be slow and almost imperceptible for those living through it, or abrupt and dramatic. In such a dynamic world, potential empires are always emerging. However, most do not reach full maturity, often due to competition and pressure from more established powers. At this very moment, we are witnessing the rise of a potential new empire, China. With the world's second largest population and several decades of rapid economic growth, China is well positioned to soon become a global hegemonic power. The transition of global dominance follows cycles that can be long, as with the Roman Empire, or shorter, which seems to be China's goal as it seeks to surpass the United States. Just 80 years after the US began its period of economic and military dominance. In the early 20th century, the United States was already regarded as a significant industrial power, though it had not yet reached the level of global hegemony. At that time, the British Empire was still the dominant economic and military power. However, following the end of World War II, the traditional concept of an imperial power began to crumble as colonialism, which had been its foundation, disappeared between the late 1940s and early 1970s. The collapse of colonial empires marked the beginning of a new era, one of economic and commercial empires, with the United States being the first to dominate this new order. To consolidate its global position, the U.S. secured control over strategic areas, such as the Caribbean, Latin America, and parts of Asia. It was critical for the United States to ensure that these key regions did not fall under hostile control, or that vital maritime routes could not be dominated by adversaries. However, achieving such influence was not always smooth, and the U.S. experienced setbacks, such as in Cuba, where a communist regime took power just 150 kilometers from its shores. Nevertheless, the United States largely succeeded in exerting strong influence over regions it deemed strategically essential. Now China is attempting to achieve a similar goal. No empire or hegemonic power has ever succeeded without securing control or significant influence over the areas it considers strategically vital. For China, there is no region more important than the South China Sea. This vast body of water, covering 3.5 million square kilometers, is crucial for several reasons. It is a major commercial route, with nearly 10% of the world's GDP passing through its waters, linking key industrial and consumer markets. It is also rich in natural resources, including nearly 20% of the world's oceanic fish consumption and large reserves of oil and gas. Over 11 billion barrels awaiting extraction. Given its proximity and economic significance, it is unsurprising that China sees control over the South China Sea as critical. Despite international treaties governing the exploitation of maritime resources, China claims that the entire sea belongs exclusively to them, disregarding the exclusive economic zones, EEZ, of neighboring countries like the Philippines and Vietnam. According to the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, a country has exclusive rights to exploit commercial resources within 200 nautical miles of its coast. However, China rejects this principle, asserting that the EEZs of these countries can only be exploited by China. This claim has led to frequent naval confrontations, particularly with the Philippines. From China's perspective, control of the South China Sea is not only a matter of national pride, but also a fundamental step towards establishing itself as a global superpower. However, from the viewpoint of the Philippines, Vietnam, and other neighboring countries, China's actions are seen as highly aggressive and a clear violation of numerous international laws and treaties. China's stance is also heightening tensions with the United States, the current global superpower, for two key reasons. First, Washington is uneasy with the rise of a rival superpower in the Pacific region. Second, the U.S. has a long-standing military alliance with the Philippines, one of the oldest in the world, dating back to the 1950s. This makes the situation even more complex and dangerous, as China's quest to control the South China Sea would require it to challenge a U.S. ally. In the event of a confrontation, the United States would likely invoke its military alliance, potentially drawing the two largest economic and military powers into a conflict with far-reaching global consequences.
If you're not yet subscribed to the channel, make sure to do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with the latest news. See you in the next video.